Hey everybody, welcome back to the lab. So where do we go for the future of search engine optimization? It's not trying to solve the puzzle of guessing the exact correct answer that they need to provide for any searcher. Well, if it's not that, then what is it? Well, as it turns out, before we can nudge search in the right direction, we might want to look at where Google thinks things are going. But let's be clear, we're not talking about new technology such as voice search or mobile search or video or image search. All those are definite challenges, but we need to think bigger than that. We need to ask, where does Google think our search really is headed in the long term? I did a little research with a really good friend and colleague, Liam Carnahan, on this, and we actually did some writing on this very topic for Content Marketing Institute. But generally speaking, if we look at Google, we can see that Google doesn't just want to be the place where you end up for a quick answer. Fun fact, only 8% of Google searches are now questions. That's incredibly important. And quite honestly, it's as important and as fundamental as a change of when I was searching Archie and could only get that one word process. Fun, fundamental, funny. You see, there's no doubt that people will still turn to search engines to find out a celebrity's age or get a fact like how many ounces are in a cup, a more traditional database type search, if you will. But rather, Google and smarter search engines want to take the next step on what you're really looking for. So, for example, instead of just helping you find out how old Idris Elba is, and let's just be honest, at this point, it seems like I'm a little obsessed with Idris Elba. The modern search engines want you to be waiting there for the inevitable guidance about why you're asking that question. In other words, you asked about Idris Elba's age, but here's the answer to that more important question. Here are the next 5 movies he's going to star in. Yeah, there are 8 ounces in a cup, but here's the next best recipe that you're likely to need that information for. Now, let's not kid ourselves. This means that your search result feed is going to differ greatly from mine. And this makes figuring out search engine strategies for mass groups, audiences, really difficult. In other words, if I'm on Amazon and I search for a product like a camping tent and it gives me how-tos on related products such as a portable cook stove or a sleeping bag, it might give you how-tos on hunting equipment or rock climbing gear, all based on your personal search preferences and what it thinks you might want next. This makes thinking about search engine optimization a very tricky practice indeed. If we have to start building racetracks for every individual race car, and not only that, all of those racetracks might be really interchangeable at any one moment based on preference, man, is that hard to do. We must realize that it is both becoming more complex from a content perspective, but it's also becoming more complex from the perspective of how many search engines are evolving. The internet is simply becoming too big and too deep for any one search engine. It's very possible, and probable by the way, that we're going to see more and more vertical search engines based on what we're actually searching for, not the exact answers to a question, but the best answers to the best path on a journey. One last thing. This is the revival of the serendipitous push of content. Remember the old TV guides? In the beginning of this episode, I talked about how before search engines, the way we used to know what ingredients to get or what was on TV was based on content that we happened to be pushed into our laps. Well, that didn't go away. And in 2021, content sometimes moves a lot faster than we can even ask about. For example, more than half of young people now get their news from a social media site, more than any other source. Often today's news is served directly to audiences and social media users well before any news media site gets its hand on it and before the search engines would then have the answer to that question. As technology gets more and more advanced, it may not be long before content is served to a questioner before they even have the question. Technology may start to know you well enough to anticipate your questions so that you need to search for the answers less. So what do we do about that? Well, if we're to be the best search engine optimizers that marketers can be, we have to realize that it's not about a battle for the best, longest, or even the most keyword-rich answer to a frequently asked question. We must present connected content experiences that not only answer the question, but present and enable an entire solution to why the question was asked. Our role as content practitioners is to present an enabling solution to all the challenges that are relevant to our business and our audiences. Solutions and journeys, not just answers to questions. For example, the query for an enterprise software search may evolve from, "What is the best CRM system?" to, "Show me a demonstration of what a great CRM system can do." Or if we're a restaurant, it won't be, "What are the best Mexican restaurants near me?" It will be, "Tell me availability at the best Mexican restaurants for 2 on Monday night." The aim of future content-driven experiences will not be answers to questions. It will be to provide solutions to challenges that aren't even asked yet. And don't take that just from me. Google co-founder Sergey Brin affirmed this 7 years ago when he said, "My vision was that information would come to you as you need it. You wouldn't have to have a search query at all." Put simply, the future of search will be removing the need for search. As I said in last month's episode, it's all about understanding our audiences and what they're really looking for. If we can do that, we can optimize our content for findability. And once they find us, if we create in-depth, valuable, informative, engaging content with authority, we can truly bring out the best meaning in our content and drive better anticipations of the questions they'll have next. Then, we are not trying to simply understand how people search for content and are served it via a search engine, but rather how people are finding and experiencing the solutions to challenges they may not even know they have. Put another way, we stop looking at the engineering of the car to develop better roads, and instead, we look to the driver and build the roads that lead to where they want to go. Until I see you next month, it's your story to tell. Tell it well.